There's a push to divide African Americans and Africans, or just black people. Even with the Tariq Nasheed like movement of, FBAs, it's turned black people against black immigrants and almost lost the cause of realizing that at the end of the day, you still a nigga in a coupe, right? Like, that's the most famous Kanye West line. Anyway, if you don't know Burna Boy, he's a Nigerian artist. He's very successful. I've gotten like really in love with his music recently. Anyway, recently he did like this interview backstage at like some festival or something like that. And a guy was asking him a question. The guy's name is Shaka Bar, salute to him. And this is what his answer was to this question. You tell me what you think.
So I'm here with a man himself, the African giant Burna Boy, and I want to ask you, why is it important that the diaspora come home?
You know why?
Now let me clarify the question. He's asking why it's important that the diaspora is basically the spread of African people throughout the globe. They're saying why African people or people of African descent, or let's just say black people, no matter if you're a black person in Poland, whether you're in the Caribbean, whether you're in Central or South America, or even in America itself, the guy's asking why is it important that all of those people eventually go back to Africa, right? Granted, Burna Boy, he's an African artist. He's from Nigeria. And this was Burna Boy's answer.
Okay, let's use America for example, right? Because you can use anywhere. Yeah. But let's just use America, right? Why do you think the Chinese American, has their respect? And they don't go through the things that African Americans go through. Even though they might go through their struggles, I'm not taking anything away from them. But they don't go through what the African American goes through. You know why? Because the Chinese American has a base. He actually knows where he's from in China.
Right. And they have support from the Chinese government.
You understand? Like the Italian American.
They have Italy.
They know where their grandparents came from in Italy before. They know the first person in their family to come to America to start that line that made them Italian American. They know. You understand what I'm saying? And same goes for everyone else except the African American. You understand what I'm saying to you? So how can an African American and an Italian American be on the same field when how do I put this in a nice politically correct way?
Okay, he further clarified these comments by saying this, because there was a lot of backlash. He says, it's so sad to see that in 2023, there are still such black people who would prefer we stay divided and conquered. Maybe it's my accent or something, but I never said that you are African and not American. I also did not say Africa is part of heaven. You deserve all the land and reparations you want from America, and I'm 100% in support of that. All I ever done is try to make you understand that you have Africa too that loves you, and I believe coming together as brothers and sisters is the only way forward for us black people worldwide. You work against the progress of our people worldwide if your goal is to keep us divided. Now, one of the reasons why, I love sitting with people who I don't understand, as long as I believe they have a sound political ideology that we could discuss that's just not rooted in ignorance. And, I watched probably about 3 hours of Tariq Nasheed's stream. I don't know if you guys know Tariq Nasheed. I had him on podcast. I had him on my podcast. And he is someone who has been touting this movement called the FBA, which is Foundational Black Americans. And it's kind of more cemented around that foundational Black Americans who came here and put work in the United States and are the descendants of slaves deserve reparations, but not necessarily people who come here and immigrate here and they are either first or second generation black people, right? I don't think he's trying to be anti-black, but he's just saying that people or slaves who are black that have a lineage here that put in all the work that helped build the country deserve a little bit more. So I've tried to understand both sides. I clearly, if you don't know, I'm an immigrant. I am a first generation American. I was born in Jamaica. I have came over here and I love the United States. I love Jamaica as well. And I've always told people, like, listen, after living in 2 countries and after being born in another country, I always tell people and ridicule people when I say, listen, if you think there's another place that's better to live than America, you are severely wrong. I've lived other places. I was born in another place. America is the closest it gets to being able to be as free as you can, as much as y'all think it might be otherwise. What I do believe with this statement, though, I think people are always triggered by it, right? Even when I speak about it, I think sometimes people feel like there is a shitting on or you're taking for granted the plight of African Americans. And when I mean African Americans, I'm really saying maybe these FBA people where like you could trace back your lineage to slaves being in the Civil War or something like that, right? And I've heard like, I've said things before. I'm like, which I still believe. Like, I do believe sometimes indoctrination and sometimes past traumatic effects from slavery has, kind of mentally held down a lot of people who have been in the United States who are black. And that's why sometimes immigrants, not all, but sometimes immigrants, like there's conversation about, if you had an African, like if your parents is Nigerian and you come over here, you got to go to college and come out with and be a doctor or a fucking engineer. Now, do I believe that African Americans are lazier? No, but this is what I think Burna Boy was trying to get to. But I don't think there's a possible way to really do it without people getting offended. The bigger picture here is literally African Americans and black people, or just black people in general. We got to unite. And as I see music getting more global, I think this is a great thing when we embrace Africa, just like they've embraced black culture or African American culture. They embrace hip hop. So trying to have this inner infighting is the reason why we never really get anything done. Let me tell you, in most countries, even, I once said, and I might be losing y'all a little bit, I once said one of the big difference, I've never been to a country, so I've never been to Europe. I'm going to go to Europe for the first time this year. I'm going to the UK. I was born in Jamaica. I've always given the story, I never heard the word nigga until I came to the United States. Now, does it exist in Jamaica? Yes. But when you grow up in a country where the people and the money look like you, everybody around you looks like you, there are people that were white that maybe lived in the town or some people that are Chinese, but we're the majority. We never looked at each other like, it felt like we don't even have the mentality. Now, granted, there are other issues. There's always issues in society, bro. There's colorism. Colorism is huge in places like Africa, Jamaica. While it might not be racism because you're the majority, it then goes to colorism. The lighter you are, the more preference you get, whatever the case is. But that mentality, though, I believe when it comes into I'm trying to figure out how to say this. And I feel like now I'm in the Burna Boy position, right? Where it's like, you're trying to explain something, but it's 2 different perspectives because I'm trying to understand, or I completely understand like what Tariq Nasheed would say, but I'm trying to explain where Burna Boy is coming from, like where his outlook is from. And I don't know, man. I'm trying to explain it better. Give me a second. There's some leaders that their idea of overcoming racism or systemic oppression, especially as it relates to race, was that not only like, there's one step of segregation to say, we can't be integrated with people that ain't of color. So let's just keep separate from them. We got to make our own banks, this and third. But then there's an more extreme perspective to say, fuck them, let's just go back to Africa, right? Now, that is a particular point of view. Then there's and I believe Marcus Garvey may have shared that. I might be wrong, but I believe he did. Marcus Garvey's from Jamaica. Then there are people like Tariq Nasheed, which I believe Tariq is completely within his right, and anybody who is an African American should be within the right to hold this. And I think Burna Boy was trying to say in here about reparations. If you were a slave, or if your family were descendants of slaves for hundreds of years and you built America, you don't want to hear a motherfucker tell you, let's go back to Africa. Oh, so you just built this whole shit and be like, oh yeah, let them keep it. Let's go back to Africa. Fuck no. I'm owed some shit here. Like, nigga, I built here. Like, my great grandfather, I'm not talking about me, but I'm talking about, like, I completely understand that, right? And that's what I'm trying to say. I don't think those two mentalities have to be against each other. I think you could embrace Africa and still demand of the United States that, yo, you need your reparations, or that you need some type of fucking, you have some type of birthright to this land because you built the shit. I don't think it has to be like in opposition as it could be. And for whatever reason, I feel like we keep getting to these ideological arguments between immigrants and people who weren't immigrants, but we're all black. Like, why are we arguing with people from Nigeria? You know what I mean? Like, some of my best friends are Nigerian, but also some of my best friends were like born in like, who knows, Patterson, New Jersey. Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, it doesn't matter to me. We're all black. That's one thing I realized about being over here. People, your skin color is your skin color. No matter if you came from Jamaica, Nigeria, if your mama was a slave, or not mama, but your grandmama was a slave, or whatever the case is, you're going to get the same type of outlook from people. And to the point of what Burna Boy is saying that I do agree with, I do believe that all these other groups that seem to get more protection is because they do hearken back to, well, if you treat the Chinese people fucked up, remember China is a global power. I think they use it as a base. I do agree with Burna Boy that us black people, we should use, right, some place as a base, right? Even if this is the continent of Africa. Because we have to be united in some sense. We can't be infighting and try to get something done. And I know some people might be offended about that. And by the way, let me go on Discord about it, because I don't want to have conversations where I'm like the immigrant nigga talking for all black people. Let me get on here just for this topic, and then I'll hop back off afterwards. Yo, if you have a point of view on this, I would definitely like for you to join chat. By the way, join the Discord, please. Everybody join the Discord. But I would just definitely want to have a conversation with people, whether you be an immigrant, whether you are someone who, like, you only could really track your family tree to be in the United States, whether it's Southern United States or whatever. I kind of want to hear what you guys think, because I do think it's whack when it's like, oh, it's African Americans versus Africans, or immigrants versus foundational black Americans. We're all black, my nigga. You know what I mean? And I feel like we all still have a story of being the underdog or just not getting treated right. All right. Yeah, no, I'm only on Discord for this topic, but this is a topic that kind of requires a little bit of conversation. I don't want to just preach to y'all on that one, right? Yo, yeah. What's good?
Hey, but like being for somebody who grew up in South Carolina Low Country, everybody knows the birthplace of African Americans is Charleston, South Carolina. That's where you see like the original
come on,
slave trade and everything.
Yo,
you can go back.
I feel like every time this nigga get on the mic, he got something to say, like Charleston, South Carolina. Just hold on. Wait, first of all, let me ask you about you.
Yeah.
If
so
you,
my family,
yeah.
I'm Gullah Geechee. I'm Gullah Geechee. So you Google that pretty much explain what I am. That's like the descendants of like from slavery, like slave descents. Like
Okay.
we're the closest people to our ancestors by the way we talk.
Okay.
By our own lingo. So like you hear like Charlemagne would talk about, oh yeah, like he Geechee or whatever.
So, all right, let me ask you like the overall question, right? So, when you trace your great grandparents or your lineage, all you pretty much know is just South, like right, pretty much America, right? Like it's not like you're like, oh yeah, and that's when we came from Liberia. Like that's not in how you kind of see the history or how you know of the history.
Nah, because pretty much you could trade like yeah we trace our family back to like where we was brought at and like at the slave trade. Then you quote unquote got your last name from your slave master. That's why like yeah, your last name is Johnson or Jackson. You're the son of so and so, so that's how you got your slave last name.
Okay, well, no,
But
not to cut you off, but perfect, right? So let me kind of epitomize like the discussion, right? So you have clearly said that the majority of your lineage that is knowledgeable to you and probably the rest of your family is that your family came it came obviously from Africa somehow through the slave trade, but the history and the tradition of how you got to where you are and where your family owns land or whatever is probably through a lot of the history of since you guys have been here. Now, that is different than someone who they just came, like they're a first or second generation Nigerian immigrant, right? Their mama came over here to work and they stayed and they had a kid and their kid is here. They're going to trace their lineage to Nigeria or to Liberia, wherever. You get what I mean? Now, I think the fundamental argument, and I hope you guys stay with me with this, the fundamental argument here, right? That's why I think these discussions keep happening, is that the people who are immigrants or the people who have ties to these other countries, include myself, sometimes seem to say, well, we should either go back to these other countries or we should link up with these other countries, and then the people who like you that don't really have that much ties are saying, okay, I get it in principle, but my whole family came here to build this country. What the fuck are y'all niggas talking about? Then you get into some like petty shit, which is like there's a lot of people that would say, yo, someone come from another country works harder than someone who was born here, who are both
Stop
and
right.
they're both black.
I can give you the perspective from a born in America and can't trace none of my ancestry back to Africa. So essentially, that's what you just said it right there. At the immigrants will critique Black America unfairly, and then they lash back out, and that's where the back and forth kind of goes. But yeah, it's just that when you don't know American history and you just come over here and you say a statement without knowing the history, and you hurt some feelings. Yeah, that's where the back and forth comes from.
And another thing too, like the African people who come over here, they do think they better than the other black people, and they don't even fuck with the other black people. Even though at the end of the day, if white people see us, they still gonna treat us the same, but they have like this arrogance about them.
Okay, all right. I'm glad you mentioned that. So let me give you the perspective of a lot of immigrants. And I know this because I have a lot of family, and they're all immigrants, right? Not only my family, but other families I know who, okay, so-and-so down the street, she's from Jamaica too, or she's from Trinidad, or she's from Nigeria, or whatever. This is what a lot of people say about sometimes Black Americans, right? Those people say this about Black Americans. Black Americans, they're mentally oppressed because of the history of slavery here. There's been slavery everywhere, but because there was so much oppression here, it's handicapped them not to do anything, in the sense of it's easier to talk about reparations and we need these like laws or whatever to equal the playing field, while somebody from Africa will come here and be like, fuck it. Yeah, are we starting to race like 10 feet back? We are, but we're not going to make excuses about it. We're just going to work harder than motherfuckers. And those immigrants start thinking about African Americans as, oh, y'all niggas is lazy. We just work harder. So then it becomes an argument, right? Because now it's like you have the people who are you have the people who are immigrants looking at black Americans. We're all black, but immigrants are looking at black Americans like, oh, y'all niggas is lazy. We come to y'all country and we outwork y'all and outperform y'all. Do you get what I mean? And then it's like almost it becomes like adversarial more than, okay, how about we learn from each other? How about we pull each other up? What do y'all think about that?
But the thing about it is, it's got to be a congruent effort, because nobody's not going to want to do that. One, we don't even do that for each other. And a lot of that, we used to have that before integration. So during like the Reconstruction era after the Civil War, like, okay, we had black communities, we had our own schools, we had our own like banks, we had our own grocery stores. We had opportunity to put money back into our own community. After the Civil Rights Act of 1964, all of that went away. All our black banks, all of our like black hospitals, all the schools, because everything got integrated together, and we lost that.
One thing I'd say I agree with, and I think I'm a really fair person when it comes to like, just debating ideology and shit like that. In a sense of, I'm an immigrant, right? And I sat with Tariq Nasheed. One thing I did agree with him, and by the way, salute to Just a Girl from Brooklyn. I want to get some female voices. I want to get some like really educated voices in here. I got to get in the Discord. Get in the Discord, type, like they'll add you. Like if you got a good this is the high IQ part of the shit before we start roasting motherfuckers soon. But here's the thing, right? What Tariq did say that I agree with is like he was talking about Fresh and Fit. He was like, it's easy to come and from another country and then shit on black Americans like, oh, they're lazy or blah, blah, blah. But if you felt that way, why didn't you get success in your own country, right? Like, honestly, I got to be honest. Am I Akademiks in Jamaica? Or did I need to come to the United States? I think I needed to come to the United States. Now, me being able to profit or take advantage of these opportunities in the United States, isn't that the byproduct of what African Americans have done, who are descendants of slaves that have made those sacrifices and put in that work? So in a sense, I shouldn't shit on them. You can't shit on them where they have created the infrastructure that you're now benefiting from, because if they didn't create it, nigga, go get popping in Sudan. I remember he used to say that to like Myron. He keeps saying that about Myron. He's like, yo, why don't you go get popping in Sudan? Or like, why don't you go get popping to that extent in Jamaica? I think that's a good point too. Like for me, I'm still thinking about unity to a certain extent, man. It's like, we shouldn't shit on each other. We should learn from each other, but we should pull each other up, right? And like I see what's happening now. I think this is going to be a bigger conversation. I'm going to tell you why. Nigeria has I never knew it had 260 million people. The U.S. has about 400. 260 million people where we're now in an attention economy. And now you have people or artists, I'm thinking in the music sense, that could weaponize that attention by being huge stars just by having their own country fuck with them on a social media level just to get attention. The U.S. market, yes, they spend a lot, but the attention economy is given more and more stars from Africa, from Nigeria. That's why we're seeing Afrobeats even more. Burna Boy, Davido, who just, he lost his son recently, but, he's back. Salute to him. Whether it's Burna Boy, Davido, Wizkid, Thames, all these beautiful artists, the reason why these conversations, like Afrobeats is kind of being imposed on us because it's big globally. So it's not only if the U.S. wants to fuck with it, it's big globally. So we're all black. We got to have these conversations, but it shouldn't be shitting on each other, if y'all understand what I mean.
Nah, the reason why people shit on each other is because we compete. Like, everybody want to be that nigga. Nobody want to just play their role and be in their position.
Explain a little bit.
You said explain, elaborate?
Yeah.
Basically, everybody want to be a king, and nobody want to just wait until it's their turn to get the throne. Because just like Lil Baby said, my turn, like, you gotta wait. Like, people just want to be that nigga. That's why black people are not united. They want to be that nigga, want to fuck all the bitches. Woo. That's why.
Hey, so let me ask you, and his name is Lil Wavy who's talking. So Is your family? Does your family
Yeah,
have like immigrant background, or you just
yeah,
only know?
yeah, yeah, yeah. My people Nigerian. Yeah. So basically, my dad, he's from Nigeria, and then he got a job in Tokyo. So he moved to Tokyo to work for like 2, 3, 4 years, and then my mama was pregnant still back in Nigeria. So he saved up money to move my mom back, to move my mom to Tokyo, and then my mom had my brother, my oldest brother. So he was born in Japan, and they were living there for like 3, 4 years. So my brother was going to school in Tokyo with all Asian kids. He was the only black kid. It was funny. And then finally, they won the lottery to come to the United States. So
Oh
when they came
shit.
to the United States, yeah, woo woo. So yeah, I'm Nigerian with woo woo.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. By the way, Blazes Chula, I see you in here. I definitely want you to add in on this. So let me ask you this question, Lil Wavy. Do you? So a lot of African Americans say this. Yo, immigrants come over here and they be looking down on us like they better than us type shit. And I ain't gonna lie, for a while I was like, no, that's not true. But that is kind of, yo, I know how, listen, I'm in a family. A lot of families that are friends and close friends of my family or my brother's friends' families, they're immigrants and they talk about like black people different from immigrant people. Like they're like, yo, them niggas is lazy, we work. Like I'm telling you, so this is true. There's no looking down.
Yeah, I be telling my people, bro, Africans are racist. They call them akatas. They call black people akata. That's what they say.
Really?
They racist. I feel like they're
All right,
racist in a way.
Stop right there. All right, so it's from what I'm hearing, it seems like the Black Americans are being picked on, but I want to hear the critique that Black Americans are agitating the Africans, like, because it sounds like we getting picked on. If you ask me,
Okay.
what did Black Americans do to African Americans?
Well,
I'm curious, and I have Africans in my family. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm just curious, like.
No, it's just because they don't think y'all serious. Y'all not serious. Y'all not grateful for what the opportunity that America brought y'all. Y'all just y'all don't take advantage of shit. That's what it is.
And
That's what it means. That's how they.
I don't think
You
we take
worded it very
advantage
politely.
of stuff, but it's just like we understand what's given to us. Like
Like the
we under
opportunity,
like certain
like, y'all don't take
conversations that like you come over here as an immigrant, like you didn't have those conversations growing up. Like your parents ain't had to tell you, oh yeah, you gotta act a certain way when you're around white people, or you gotta act a certain way when you're dealing with the police. And when you at school and stuff, like you have to act a certain way because at the end of the day, these white teachers and white administrators doesn't understand. So you gotta play by their rules. So it's not even that they playing by our rules as a culture, we're playing by their rules.
And then my dad would say, Wale, speaking about that, my dad would just tell me common sense. He said, just common sense. Just use your common sense. Because Africans are smart, bro. They book smart. That's one thing about Africans. They so smart when it comes to education. That's why I love Africans. They big on education.
hold on. And I'm gonna answer this because I want to have kind of a fair conversation. So I know I'm an immigrant, but I want to be on both sides of the fence in a sense. Well, here's the thing, right? So, like for example, if you're wondering why my name is Akademiks, right? I grew up. My mom is a teacher. My dad's a principal, right? I grew up in Jamaica. Like Jamaican school structure is completely different. Like you get a rank in your class. Like what I mean. There's no A's. Well, I mean you could internalize it to be an A, B, and C. But I was in elementary school or primary school as we call it. Second grader telling you, are you the first? That's how your report card goes. Are you the first or the last? If you're the last, you're the dumbest thing in class. Like, and you're ranked against people, right? Now, that's how other cultures or other countries kind of like develop themselves and their kids. Let's think about the United States. If you're stuck in poverty, right, where you might be from a broken household, maybe your pops might either have a job or not, or might be around or not. We know there's a lot of things that has affected the core traditional family structure of a lot of black families coming up. Now you're dealing with a mom who's working with 2 different jobs. Like you're not really being supervised. Like I'm gonna lie to you, I used to believe that being smart was just a genetic thing till I realized no, like the family structure around me, you couldn't go outside and have fun until you did like 10 different things that had to do with schoolwork. So when I showed up and I did well on tests, it was because I couldn't even watch TV. You get what I mean? Now, let's talk about the family structure that's in the United States. For families that have been disrupted or affected by a lot of oppressive, either laws or all these type of things. Yeah, yes, maybe the kids won't be getting the same type of, like, yo, hey, you got to focus on school, blah, blah, blah. Now you get people who are going to more stray off into street life or whatever the case is. And that's just, that's a product of the environment, not necessarily of black people being or African Americans being lazy. That's just the situation they're in. Where I came from, it was just a little bit different. But should I look down on them? Or should I realize the history and all the lineage that I'm now taking advantage of now, it probably fucked them up a lot, right? And they had to go through these growing pains, right? Does that make sense a little bit or no? Somebody said that's excuses. Somebody said that's excuses. And I would say it's excuses, but you got to think about the historical context. Like even what Wale Inter was talking about, some of these things that it definitely affected black families. I wouldn't want to think about it because I just got here, right? I showed up here in 2001. So I'm like, nah, fuck it. It's a free for all, right? But if you are born into some shit, and whoever I'm cutting off, I'm gonna let you go now. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, how are the school systems in Jamaica funded? Because in America, we go by, they actually draw property lines. So as you know, in the poor neighborhoods, those
it's called red zone. It's called red line.
Those neighborhoods fund the schools. So poor neighborhoods, your school gonna get funded. You're gonna have shitty books. You done seen the trashy hood schools before. You go to the nice areas. I don't know if you've seen that viral TikTok of them white schools. They got some nice ass schools. Nice, nice education. The neighborhood you live in now probably got a fire ass high school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I don't know how is it in Jamaica? How do the school systems get funded? You know what I mean? Because in America, it's built different.
I'll give you an insight on how Jamaica runs and this is why it incentivizes you to be good at school. Like, for example, it's not only school and it's politics. I've always told people where I grew up at, right? In the town I grew up in the countryside, we didn't have phones in the house. You had a pay phone down the street. Why? By the way, the town to the left of us and the town to the right of us had it. Why? Because politics is huge. Our little region didn't vote for the power, the party that got in power. And you know what happens? They don't treat it like how America's treated. If you voted for them, you get shit. If you didn't vote for them, you don't get shit. So that's why you realize in that country, you see everybody talking about like political suppression here up here. You get killed if you campaigning or like you wilding out for another party, bro. It could affect people's livelihoods. Yo, you campaigning for them, we going for them. These people, they funding us, they giving us jobs on the low. You trying to get this other party elected. If this other party get elected, we're done.
If you not, you campaign or
wait, hold on, just beat up an official point. All right, and then so when it comes to schooling now, this is how it works. In schooling, it's about performance, right? Like, so when I graduated from primary school, that's 6th grade. For you to go to high school, it was about performance. So if you performed well, you could go to the best high school that's the best funded. You get what I mean? Or if you performed the worst, you were only going to be granted access to like the high school where everybody's thugging and doing all type of shit. So it's like you get to realize performance, like everything was performance based. It was not, you were never owed anything. So like you kind of bred that into yourself, at least where I came from, performance based. Like my brother got a scholarship for the entire parish, which is like a state. And that shit changed the life of everybody at the school I was at. They got additional funding. We built a new computer lab off of that shit. Just off of, there's a standardized test that he took that he did really well on, the best in the whole state. So our school got this big grant. So you get what I mean? So it was incentivized from early on. The better you do, the better things will be. You were never owed anything. Now, granted, over here, and by the way, is that a right way to do things? Probably not, because now you're putting pressure on a bunch of kids who really, like, you don't really know their back. Like, it's a lot of shit. Like, I know people saying excuses, but I've just kind of grown to think that it's more than excuses. I'll give the floor to you.
Oh, so act like you were saying like they do stuff like that for performing basis, but like I know like for the most part, it's like if you in a certain part of the state or a certain area, a lot of people would like you would try to live in certain areas to get your kids to go in certain schools. Then on top of that, you have to try to score well on certain end of course tests to get in maybe like an AP class or honor class to get that better learning ability to get get that education to score well on that SAT or ACT to go to those colleges. But other than that, yo, if you're in the hood and you live in that urban hood area, you're going to a shitty school. It doesn't matter how smart you are.
And let me read this comment, and anyone could jump in. Blazing Chula, you here? Yeah, we got to get our
Can you hear me?
Okay, great. I want you to jump in after this comment, and then you can respond to anything
Okay.
anybody else said.
Yes.
Poetic, the poetic painter. Thank you for the $20, brother. He says, yo, the majority of black doctors in the U.S. are Nigerians. He says, how can they figure it out so rapidly? Yet we've been here for centuries and are still making excuses. Why isn't oppression suppressing them? The reason is because we're lazy. All right, hold on. Let Blaze and Chula get in, and then anyone else could jump in afterwards.
Hey, I want to say something. The problem is everybody is so sensitive these days. I just know it's going to come across wrong, but I'm going to try it the nicest way possible. As a black person who grew up in the Caribbean and Europe, and I have family in America, I kind of feel like African Americans isolate themselves from other black people.
Okay.
I really feel that. You know how many times I'm not saying all African Americans, but the ones that I have encountered, you know how many times they have the discussion on whether Africans and Caribbeans are actually black?
Okay.
Like, you never wonder that? You know how many times they say, well, they're not really black, they're from Africa. Or you know how many times I've seen people say it about you? If Shade Room posts something about you, someone in the comment will say, why is he talking about that? He's not black, he's from Jamaica.
I've
Because
seen that
I feel
too.
like they feel like they are the only ones that are black and can date blackness. But that's my experience with the people I've known. So I'm not speaking for all African Americans. I'm just speaking for the ones that I have encountered.
Can I say something?
Can I give a perspective real quick?
Wait, hold on. Let me just moderate this. All right, who wants to jump in?
So let me give you like some perspective, right? So my dad is a doctor, my mom's a nurse, right? I'm a young nigga, I'm in college right now.
By the way, hold on.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. Because we're hearing new voices, just identify yourself that the chat could understand. Because, you know, this is going to be on YouTube.
Right.
So I want to be like, this nigga spitting facts or he talking shit. So this is, it's your boy Mark, right?
Yes. So I'm an engineering major in college. My dad is a doctor. He's a surgeon. My mom's a nurse. I'm Nigerian, right? They're Nigerian. So let me explain so this is how like my mom looks at it, right? So when we first came out, so we got it like 2017, right? So when we first came here, my mom and my dad, they look at it as black. They see black people, they think they're lazy. That's just what it is. Like it sounds horrible, but that's just what it is because they think if y'all have all these opportunities, right? Like where we're from, like bruh, you gotta like fight to get every single thing you're gonna get in life, right? So when they come here, they see as y'all have schools, y'all have fucking power, y'all have internet. Excuse the question. Y'all have all these resources, but yet y'all can't seem to figure it out. To them, it's just like we come in, it's like easy game because all you got to do is work. Just work hard, go to school, and get your shit right, and you'll be successful. That's what it is. To them, that's just what it is. That's just what it is, plain and simple. And let me explain. So before I let you go, like let me explain why they look at it different because they don't understand like how racism has affected black people in general, right? Okay. Because they come here and just think like, they have like all the research. The government is there. Y'all got Social Security, like all these things like so in place in the system. Why can't y'all get together? That's why when they come here, they just like they put in the work, put in the time, and that's why everything clicks for them. That's where that difference is. So as with black people, it's like they got like all these like like all this shit like intangible shit we don't think about as Africans. We just come here and it's like we just gotta put in the work and you be successful. So that's how that is.
Hey,
if y'all
academics,
what do y'all think about that?
Okay, thank you.
This is Swigger Giovanni, bro.
So are you calling black people lazy?
Yeah, no, they're not lazy. Listen, Africans or anybody from any other country are conditioned to think that Americans live that way. When they come and when they visit, there's a tour guide with them. Ask any Nigerian, my brother, ask your mother or father. Somebody told them that blacks are lazy. They watch movies, they watch TV shows, and they believe that that's the real interpretation of American men and women, when that's not true.
Okay,
my mother's from the South. What's up?
Okay, so my mom, I said my mom's a nurse, right? So she works like a bunch of like fellow like black women or like nurses as well.
My mother's a nurse too. She's an RN for the Veterans Affairs Hospital.
Right, my mom, she's a charge nurse. She's been a nurse for 16 years now. So what she says is like she feels like they treat her differently because she doesn't like act the same way they act.
What does that mean? Wait, hold on. What does that mean? What does that mean?
No, you're not getting the point. It's a condition in theory. Why do you think black Africans and black Americans are beefing? It is a condition. When we watch Africans on TV, the first thing we see as Americans is bush trees and huts. When that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? It's what we are given.
That's a good point.
Sugar speaking facts is a big warrior. I came into England from Somalia when I was young. I was born in the Netherlands, but I come from a Somali background. When we first came here, the people that were already here, the black people, the Jamaicans, people that are already here from the 60s, when they saw us, they treated us badly. So we culturally, we just became split. And that's the reason why when we identify ourselves, especially with a lot of Africans, we don't say we are black. We say the country we're from. We look at black as a westernized term.
Really?
Right.
Your academics, that term came from Jesse Jackson or something. When did Negroes come out? Like, when did the term black come out? Like that's a new word. What were we called before Negroes? What were we?
Wait.
Okay,
One thing.
Go ahead.
That guy real quick.
No.
Can I answer the guy that said where does the word Negro come from and all that?
No, that's not what I asked. I said what were we called before Negroes? I know where the word Negro comes from. Don't school me on that. The question that I have, I don't want to hear that. The question that I have is what were we called before Negroes? If you don't have that answer, I don't want to hear you.
Well, then fine. I just wanted to say something, but if you don't want to hear it, that's fine too. I don't feel like arguing.
All right. Hold on. Wait.
Real quick, I want to answer the.
Wait. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna try to recenter the conversation because I think Swigga Giovanni said something very important, and I kind of remember it because that's kind of how I interpreted Africa for a while. There was a long time that I interpreted Africa as literally either very uncivilized or just huts or whatever. I'm gonna be honest. And you know why that thought was in my mind? I remember them kind of showing what Africa was, a bunch of bushes. And then I remember I had some Nigerian friends and everybody kept telling me, yo, we live great. And they would show me pictures and other things of how their families living. I remember like my Nigerian best friend, which was a girl, her family bought her car from Nigeria and sent it over here. I'm like, I thought y'all broke over there. Then I realized I'm kind of being a little bit indoctrinated by what I'm seeing Africa looks like. Every video or every movie that depicts Africa shows impoverishedness and also we think that's uncivilized people. I do think now the internet is catching us up to be like, I don't care about going to Europe. You know the one place I want to go to? Lagos. Lagos looks so beautiful. I never thought that Africa was that beautiful. I swear. And you know how I learned about Africa? I'm learning about it through, over the years I'm talking about, not now. I was learning about it through movies. And it was always making Africa look like a bunch of bushes with spears, right? When you heard comedians talk about it, they would just talk about Africa like it was such a primitive place. Like you would go there and niggas is just still like they're not even talking English all year. I swear, I ain't being funny. I'm not being funny.
I got a question. I got another question. How come black Americans are afraid to call themselves Africans? Because most Americans think that civilization started in America when it didn't. So it's impossible for you to be a black American if you're not looking at your native origin. And I believe the native origin is Africa. Of course, people travel all over and settle places, but come on, nobody just picked a black person from the ground like a potato. You know what I'm saying? They had to have migrated from somewhere to America because civilization did not start in America. So when you American black men are afraid to call yourselves African, that's just showing that you're afraid of your history. That's all I gotta say.
Y'all can jump in.
Yeah, but yo, Suga, I agree with you. Like people like should call themselves Africans, but at the end of the day, the Africans don't look at y'all the same way.
Okay, that's interesting. Wait, hold
No,
on.
not all Africans. Just the Twitter beef for Africans, because there's Africans who would really say, "Come back home, bro."
And you go back home. I've been to Africa, bro. I've been to Somalia. I'm telling you, they're not accepting. They're not accepting it like that.
I wanted to answer the donation, who was basically just saying it was an ignorant donation, but they asked a question. We kind of skimmed over it. But all the Nigerian doctors who come over here, that's the cream of the crop. You get me? These are the best, and you have a choice. You have a choice. You want to be a doctor in Nigeria, or you want to go to America, which I'm assuming. I'm assuming America pays better. I'm assuming. I don't know. But so these are good. These are the cream of the crop who's coming over here. That's not an average Nigeria. You know what? These aren't the bottom of the bird. These niggas got good grades. These are
Hood magic. Hood magic.
Let me answer that. Let me answer that real quick.
And Trump used to talk about that too with immigrations. Like, yeah, when we get immigrants, the ones that come over do it the right way, those are the best of the best.
Right. So
like same time too. Like if we want to go to the UK and those type of Western like countries over there, even like certain countries in Asia, they're not gonna let all the like dumb criminals, crazy people immigrate over there. No. They're going to want the best of us over there.
That's a great point. By the way, let me just jump in for 2 seconds. That's a great point you're mentioning, because I'm thinking about even my own aunt. Like, if you wonder how my family came to the United States, right? So my uncle, who, hard worker but never the smartest, he came over here on a work visa. He was supposed to do field work. He got deported pretty quick because he just really wasn't on shit, right? Now, by the way, God bless his soul, love him, his family. Now, the rest of my family that came over here, my aunt came over here on a specialized visa when she was in the university for her performance. So then she was able to be a nurse over here. And what does that mean? She was probably one of the best nurses in Jamaica. So maybe we're also like we're hyping up immigrants, but sometimes the ones who come here legally, they're the cream of the crop, but they're not really the entire, because I know some ain't shit Jamaicans. That's a fact. Like, as much as we can talk about, like, anybody, like, say, African Americans or people who are here, I know some ain't shit Jamaicans. They just would never get here. So, that's my 2 cents. Yo, Blazing Chula, let me give a little order of how I want people to jump in. Yo, let's do Blazing Chula, Hood Magic, Swigga Giovanni, and then Warrior. And then if anyone else wants to jump in, you can definitely do it. But Blazing Chula, you have anything to add?
Yeah, there is one more thing that I want to say, because like what you were saying about the education in America and how sometimes schools are underfunded. Someone said it, I don't remember which one it was, but I do have to say, as a Black person in Europe, I have a different experience than that, because I grew up in Holland, and here they admire education. I don't really know how to say it exactly. But let's say you you migrate here and you want to be, I don't know, a doctor. They will fund your study and help you become a doctor. You have to do the work yourself, but they will help you with education. Like here in Holland, honestly, it's really rare for me to meet a person that only speaks one language. Almost everyone is multilingual. I myself am fluent in 4 different languages.
Oh, wow.
Most of the people speak 2, 3 languages. They push you to be a better person. I'm not saying that it's perfect. There is some racism. There are some things that are wrong. People of color do sometimes get treated unfairly. But when I look at the way that America is, and I look at the way that we have it in Europe, I would say, not all the countries in Europe, the one that I experienced then, I do say it's a better place for Black people than America is, I would think, from my experience then.
Okay, thank you. Hold on. Before we go on to the next point, let me read this super chat, and hopefully, I forgot who I said was after her. Hopefully you can react to this, but Harlem and Brooklyn RRV1, thank you for the $10 on YouTube. He says, yo, great discussion, Ak. He says, I myself have been a mechanical engineer for 10 years now. I'm from Harlem, New York, but moved to the Midwest. My thoughts on this has changed over the years. And I guess he's saying we African Americans. He said, we African Americans, we do not take advantage. So, there were some people saying that, they feel like immigrants taking advantage. I believe, I think it's your boy Mark said that. So it's your boy Mark, you could probably jump in. It looked like Harlem,
Right.
It looked like he's
So-
kind of agreeing.
Yeah, he does, because here, so like my mom says, it's like over there, like you don't even have the opportunities to succeed. Even like you could be like a straight A student, like if you have all your shit together over there, you still might fail. Over here, they look at it as, bro, like the school is there, like the professors are there, like like the resources are there for you to succeed. All you have to do is just put in the work, and you'll be fine. That's what that's just how like immigrant parents, like I'm gonna like as a first gen, that's just how they look at it. To them, they don't think about they think everything else is subjective. You can like overcome all the rest of that shit, but like other than that, just put in the work, put in the time. If like in the end, just try hard enough and you'll be fine. And that's just what it is. If you have the opportunities here, you'll be fine. That's what they think about America, like the Euro, anywhere else. Just put in the work, put in the time, and you'll be fine. That's just how if y'all disagree, y'all jump in and let me know. But
Hi, so I'm Smash, and I'm just gonna disagree with Mark. I a second generation American. My grandmothers immigrated from Japan and El Salvador, respectively, and I am extremely passionate about the education system in America, having gone through it myself. And I think that what a lot of people, unless they've been in the US for a long time, or at least long enough to truly understand the mechanism of how America operates and how systemic racism plays a very large part in keeping BIPOC communities down. And we can speak to that more so if you look at like inner city communities and the funding and the quality of the education as compared to, relative white communities where there's more funding and more participation from the community and whatnot. Not because, sorry, I'm trying to phrase this correctly, but not because it's easier or whatever, but because they have more opportunity to be present. Whereas in the US, classism and racism play a huge part in the BIPOC communities not being able to be as participative in their children's education and demanding more funding from the government and things like that. So I think what I'm struggling to say is that sometimes in the US, no matter how hard you work, no matter how much you sweat, no matter what effort you put into it, it's not as easy. It's not that fairy tale, that white picket fence that a lot of people come to America for, that American dream type, thing. What a lot of people don't understand is that no matter how hard you try, sometimes, no matter what effort you put in, that there are still so many hurdles that especially the Black community has to jump over. And I'm not saying that
can I say
can't. Yeah,
I was gonna
wait. Just let her finish her point. I'll give her another minute to finish her point. Then you guys can jump in. Obviously,
I know I'm a rambler. Sorry, but basically, it's not just you have to work hard and you can do well. In the US, people that are born here that have to grind the system, that have to go through everything that we go through, it's sometimes it's just not enough. And unless you have that helping hand, unless you have these connections to help pull you out or whatever, it's not that easy. And you can look at our, statistically, that it's what I'm saying is it is empirically backed. But I agree that, you can work hard. There are opportunities to work hard, but that just because you work hard, just because you put your shoulder to the wheel does not automatically mean that you will be successful.
Okay, and by the way, thank you for that thought. By the way, I'm glad you jumped in on the conversation. I get what you're saying, but next time you're about to hop on, have your thoughts a little bit more together. Definitely, I get what you're basically. So a lot of people who are immigrants, they believe in what's technically called the bootstrap theory, which means you could pull yourself up by the bootstraps instead of possibly looking at these other things that's kept you down. Some people believe immigrants more believe in that, while other people will, or listen to other people, but people who are more indigenous in terms of, you could track your entire lineage to either being slaves here. Those things might hold you back, right? And I think what she's making a point of, hey, listen, it just doesn't exist where if you work hard and you just try your best, you're gonna succeed. That's just not like because of the situation of the black or let's say the person of color within the United States. It's not set up that if you just work your hardest and work, you express all sweat equity, you're gonna win. And I think that's an interesting point because I think some people have that type of thought as well. I know Swigger Giovanni and somebody else wanted to jump in.
I want to jump after him.
Hold on. By the way, chat, we're going to keep this conversation going on, just kind of give you time-wise. We got about 20 more minutes on this, and then we're going to move on, okay? But I want to make everybody be able to express their opinions. For everybody who's watching the stream, you're used to the fuckery. I like these conversations. I like to involve everybody. So, we got about 20 more minutes of this. If you haven't gotten into the Discord, you want to get like an important piece of thought in, you could jump in. Before the next person goes on, let me just read this last super chat. Christopher Russell says, yo, my family from Jamaica on my mother's side. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn. My father's line is more mixed with Haitian, Dominican, and European. And there's a huge difference because of the values instilled by the family. So according to Christopher Russell, this is more of a how does your family raise the kids thing and how they instill values. Are we going Swigger Giovanni or are we going somebody else?
Yeah, we're going Swigger. I got something to say. 1 minute. And it's so funny that you shouted somebody out from St. Kitts today because that's where my pops is from, right? So my pops is from St. Kitts and my mom is from South Carolina. So I'm dead in the middle. And so Act and the chat niggas, America only helps you if you help America's economy, okay? That's why when we're young and in elementary school, we got policemen and firefighters who come to school and show us how to help the economy. That's why there was never no entrepreneurs or no artists or anybody that can make real money because those type of jobs help ourselves first, then the economy. That's why it's hard for us to get a loan for a small business before we get a loan for a car. They'll give us $100,000 car loan before they give us $100,000 business loan. Do you want to know why? Because that car loan helps the economy. That business loan helps us. And that's all I got to say. My name is Swigger Giovanni, man.
I just want to jump in for that. My name is Big Homie. I'm a foundational Black American. My ancestors came from slavery, from Fitzgerald, Georgia, to be specific. Mm-hmm. And my grandfather ran numbers, you know what I'm saying, in the 60s and 70s. And my grandmother was in the Black Panther Party. So let me just jump in this conversation. The reason why a lot of African Americans are in the predicament that they are in right now is because a lot of factors came under, for instance, the crack cocaine epidemic, when the government planted cocaine in Black neighborhoods, and a lot of things like in terms of I'm sorry, I'm rambling right now, but a lot of things in terms of when Joe Biden had the mass incarceration program where he locked up Black men for small levels of crack cocaine and coke and locked them up for 20, 25 years. It set in a domino effect that lasted 30 and 40 years. When you take out the Black father in American homes, period, not just Black Americans, but American homes, period, that sets a child in a disadvantage. Mind you, the predicament and the surrounding factors when you in low poverty neighborhoods, when you have drug dealers across the street, when you take out the doctors and lawyers from your neighborhood, when they started the integration in 1964, that leaves a period in time where you get African Americans in just a low playing field. So the fact, the point I'm trying to make, right? I think a lot of Africans and the immigrants, they should have a level of sympathy when they're talking to Black Americans, not just saying like, "Oh, pick up your bootstraps and do what you got to do," but y'all don't factor in the things we had to go through over the period of time in America that led us to this point. For instance, slavery. You say that, hey, if you help out the economy will help you back. Well, a lot of our ancestors did help out the economy. Without slavery, without having free labor, it wouldn't be in America. So
that's why the economy gave you food stamps, Putin. That's why they gave us food stamps in Section 8.
But the reason why, but even that, a lot of those programs in Section 8 and food stamps, the Black father is really for single mothers. A lot of Black fathers, if they find a Black father in their home when they do wellness check or when they do this and to find out what your progress is as a family, they make sure the Black father is not in that home. So I'm saying that the product in the system is solely against Black Americans. So you have to have some type of sympathy when you have this type of conversation.
Let me rebuttal to you.
Wait, hold on, wait. Just give me 1 second. Let me jump in. I'm gonna give it a little credence to what he's talking about. I'm gonna be honest with you. I still think of to this day, right? I told you my mom was a teacher. My father was a principal. God rest his soul. I always from a young age, I felt I had to be better than my father. I'm a junior, so my father's a senior. And when you see how the community where I grew up in Jamaica looked at my dad, I felt like I had to do better than him, right? Now, clearly that wasn't a product of, let's say they took my father out the household early and he's in jail and they locked him up for some trivial shit. If I feel like, my dad's not even here, that definitely motivated me. So I completely understand there is an effect of a lot of some of these laws and bills and some of these predatory practices that even somebody like even Joe Biden was a part of back in the 90s or earlier that definitely targeted Black men in the household that we are, to go back to what's, I think maybe Warrior or I can't remember who said it. We're talking about
that was Warrior.
We're talking about the best. A lot of immigrants, legal immigrants, they're the best of where they're coming from. Now they're mixed in with all type of different people within a land that all they know is a history of predatory practices and taking advantages of their free labor. So I understand what Putin's saying. Who was jumping in before? I want to throw it right back to you.
I'm jumping in. More facts.
All right,
I wanted to make
Warrior first.
Yeah, I wanted to make a point real quick. Going back to Smash's point, where success is a measured by decided by others, right? In America, or these Western cultures, African Americans or people from other minorities, success is having a white picket fence, having financial freedom, having so and so. But to an African, right? I'm not trying to even make it stereotypical, but an African in a mud hut, blah blah blah. Their success is someone taking care of them. You can go in America, you can go to the Western countries. If you don't have a job, there's a program that will literally give you money. You can get EBT, you can get fed, you can get food. In Africa, you don't have none of that. So the only way for you to level up is actually making sacrifices and shit, coming overseas and literally working your hard. And that's why we look at African Americans differently, because there's certain shit that you guys have we will never ever have.
But also, let me just respond to him because he responded to me.
Yeah.
The reason why,
facts next. I'm
gonna elaborate what Swigger said in the beginning. The reason why you think of us because it's psychological. When you watch TV, when you watch the rappers and Tupac back in the late '90s, and when you see LA getting shot up in riots, your mom planted in your head psychologically what she got from white folks that African Americans are animals. They're apes. They don't know how to read. They don't know how to write. Where in fact those stereotypes come all the way from slavery, bro. You know what I'm saying? We could let me just explain, elaborate. The point I'm trying to make, right, is that you have a stereotypical mindset because white folks planted in your head the stereotypical mindset when you look at African Americans. For instance, I gave, for example, the flea in the jar. The flea in the jar. Scientists made a scientific theory that if you put a group of fleas in a jar, after an hour or 2 hours, they can't go above that level. Even if you open up the jar, they can't go above that level. So when they did that, they found out, oh shit, when they opened it up, the fleas wouldn't go above that jar. And what happened was that they taught their kids, the fleas, when the fleas had eggs, they taught their kids not to go above that jar. So the point I'm trying to make, it always goes back to slavery. It's a psychological mindset that you guys never had to go through. That's something that's something that never happened. And I'm talking about something in terms of that level, in terms of people getting raped. People, great. In terms of people, you can't be able to read. You can't know your culture. You can't know things that happened before you got here in America. That gave a psychological warp in our mind, and it's not going to go away within 20 and 30 years. It just happened 300 years ago. So the point I'm trying to make is that, again, when you have these conversations, you should have some type of sympathy in terms of your own brothers and sisters. If you really feel we brothers and sisters, we need to come together, the mindset that Black Americans are lazy, that's an ignorant mindset, and you got that from white folk.
That's
Hey, go
lazy.
ahead.
Let me just say something real quick, right? I was lucky enough to have my pops.
Boy
This is
was
Swiggy
crazy.
Giovanni again. Everybody keeps saying I sound like DJ Khaled in your tweets, academics. I'm crying. But listen, I was lucky to have my father in my life, and not only was I lucky for that, he always had a commission-based job. Meaning that he taught us always how to hustle for our own money and don't ask. And nowadays, it's a lot of single mothers raising our men. So a lot of our men are not being built the right way because they have a mom who has a psychological issue. And the reason she has a psychological issue is because now she has to think like a man and a woman to raise this boy. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, now there's different men coming in the crib, and the man has to see that at everybody chat niggas. So when he turns 18, how do you think he gonna act? Like a bitch ass nigga. So it's not even that. It's not even something we could control, bro. I don't even know how to control that. I don't even know how to fix that because single mothers is what's really ruining our community of men.
Yo,
By the way,
Swiggy, let me
hold
respond to you.
on, real quick.
And let me speak on this
Wait,
from
hold
from
on,
American perspective. I know European.
Wait. Hold on, because we're about to go to more facts. I definitely do want to say to Sweet Giovanni, by the way, Putin, you were spitting. I ain't gonna lie, you're definitely preaching a lot. Even me being an immigrant, I remember thinking to myself, you know, what America is a constant reminder of a repressive regime onto black people. Again, when I didn't get it for a while, I remember saying, when I walk outside in Jamaica, I saw people that look like me as the majority of people. I remember when I was spending $1 or $20, I was seeing people that looked like me. Everything felt like it was possible. It felt like it is psychological to a certain extent. If every representation, like the stories that I was taught, it like, you know, I don't know what y'all think that people don't learn American history in their own country. When I went to school in Jamaica, all it taught us was how we fucked up niggas that try to put us in slavery. That's the whole, if you ever hear Jamaican history, it's like, yeah, they tried it, but like, yo, we had Nanny and the Maroons, we were fucking them up over there, fucking them. Like, we leave class thinking like, oh shit, we're them guys. We don't leave class saying, yeah, you know that nigga like Benjamin Franklin, he ain't fuck with niggas either. And you know that other nigga over here who's on your money, he didn't like you neither. Like, we don't see those images constantly. And even then, the only image I would probably say is the Queen, and we don't even fuck with her. Like, Jamaicans were celebrating her dying. Like, it's a different mentality if you've grown up thinking that, hey, yes, you did come from a slavery or oppressive past, but now everything you're seeing is showing you being empowered while still in the United. Yo, they don't even want a black person on any type of bill. Like, you still gotta spend the money with all the white motherfuckers' face. I get it. What Putin and also Putin as a chat nigga and the Swiggle Giovanni was talking about, there's definitely a factor of mentally oppressive people even beyond what we think oppression is. Let me go to MoFax. Let me go to MoFax real quick, and then we go to Wale and then Swiggle Giovanni, and anybody else can jump in. MoFax, what up?
Hey, thanks, Ash, for giving me your platform. This is Mo Facts from the Star Report, also from the Mo Facts with Adam Curry, the inventor of podcasting podcast. So what I want to say is, what people have to understand is numbers and scale. They're handpicking, I think it's like 300,000 Nigerians in the country right now, out of 300 million. And you take that 300,000 and you compare it to 13 million black people, ADOS, FBA, that's here in America, and you say, what's wrong with you black people? What's wrong with you ADOS, FBA? Look at these people. And then the Nigerians, I'm just taking it for example, the Nigerians. Then they look at black people, ADOS, FBA, and say, what's wrong with you? You had all this opportunity. You see what I'm saying? So that creates the apprehensive, relationship that we have with each other. And the thing is, we held the door open so they could get here. So we would think there should be some gratitude. But what we have to learn is, like Neely Fuller said, as FBA ADOS, is 3 things you never asked for: an apology, respect, and love. We got to stop asking people to love us, respect us. We have to demand that as far as, how we deal with people. And a lot of the people that come here from other countries have the boule mentality. They have the same mentality as FBA and blacks that made the talented 10th. They ascended to high levels, and they look down on us. And they use these record labels and, politics to portray the worst of us. Every time you hear about politics, is what? Criminal justice, criminal justice. It's never, oh, how do we get FBA ADOS people small business loans or, education? And the thing with affirmative action and what makes us look bad, you don't have to have the qualifications to get affirmative action, right? You just got to have the skin color. So as you've seen, we have some very underqualified people brought and put into positions that only further that us black people are dumb. And I find it strange that out of a vice president and a president of this country, both of them are immigrants. How does that work? Do you not think that plays into how we portrayed? So, what we got to understand, I'm going to just keep it real with you. I'm 42 years old. I remember when the first Africans started coming over here. On one hand, our church, we invited them in. We said, you become part of our community. But when their kids went to school, we picked on them. And when you're being picked on, what do you pick on? What's different? Their language, their dress. And as Axe said, their parents are PhD students or, brought here from other countries. So their kids value education. Foundational black people, ADOS, for the most part, we ridicule education. Remember kids used to have to hide their books in pizza boxes just to walk to school. So the heat that the immigrants received was not exclusive to them. It was, if you're smart and black, you're going to be picked on. But what we have to do is we have to start fixing our family structure. And I'm tired of everybody going out here with these rallies and these marches. You have to start in your home. You have to start yourself. Better education. Better, And I'm not talking about that bootstrap stuff because we need our reparations, first of all. That's the first thing. And for real, I'm gonna land my plane on this one. The real problem right now is the discussion of reparations because there's a lot of immigrants that are off code. Why are you trying to stop me from getting my money because you can't get some? It's a lot of hate going on with that. And when black people start saying we need to be our own subgroup in this, we're still black, you're still black, but just like Jamaican politics, Nigerian politics, Guyana politics, we have our FBA, ADOS politics, and part of that is reparations, but it's a lot of immigrants that are hating on that because they can't get a piece of that pie. And also we threaten them when we start saying these positions set aside for black, quote unquote, black, it needs to be specifically for black American people. Because a lot of people come here from other countries and the things that we died for, got beat for, and fought for, they're giving it to immigrants. And it's by design because they want us to be fighting with each other like we're doing on this platform instead of taking on white supremacy. And I'll land my plane there.
Hey, by the way, no, thank you, brother. By the way, for everybody in the chat, and I know this might be a little bit off of what we normally do, but put it like this. This is the reason why somebody like me wants to, it's no reason to have a big platform with tens of thousands of people being tuning in if we're only going to do the gymnastics and just like talk about, like, we're going to get to the jokes. There's mad shit we could joke about. So I appreciate all you guys for even being here and trying to understand and even trying to chime in, because again, if you ask me, I've always heard the mantra shit. I heard it from my man Charlemagne. It was like, you got to give the medicine through the candy. Sometimes, yeah, you get the audience, this conversation, we got 15,000 people all through all platforms right now. I'm very proud that we could have a conversation like this that should be put on a bigger level. I wouldn't feel good as a creator if I feel like I got to sit here and talk about Playboy Cardi every day. You know what I mean? If we want to have a good hour talking about this shit, and if you want to extend it, it is what it is. And I appreciate every single person. We've been having a great discussion. Thank you, MoFax, coming here.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
Can I say one more thing?
Go ahead.
I challenge you to have better representation for FB and ADOS, because a lot of times when I listen to these spaces, it's a lot of people that have a lot of passion, but they can't articulate themselves, which is a function of white supremacy. That's why they don't want us to be educated, because we can't articulate our strife, our pain. So I'm not in a negative way, but I just want to challenge you that we need to have some better representation for FBA ADOS, because we want to solve this problem, and I appreciate it.
Okay, and I respond.
You can't put that challenge.
No, wait. With Swigger. No, Swigger.
Yeah.
I'll respond to him directly. You see, the same easy way it was for you to get on this platform. This platform is not. It's exclusive to the people who make it, right? Any platform is, right? if we were like, you know, kind of, oh, hey, this person thinks this. Let's not, I don't even know what you were gonna say before. I didn't know who you were, but you were allowed. You talked uninterrupted. We're not trying to cut you off or whatever. We're not trying to filibuster any point you have. For people who, you know, we're gonna try to open up. I'm trying to stream a lot more these days, so we're gonna try to have these like qualitative discussion. I don't know if I could promise every Sunday, but yeah, if anyone, that's why I shouted Discord out. If you have something that you want to say, and if you feel like you have a point of view, by the way, this is a high IQ conversation. You could definitely get in. We're not gonna cut you off. Nobody's gonna, this is why I'm here to moderate, even though I have my own opinion about things. So I would say to your challenge, MoFax, I am ready to meet the challenge, but I'll also invite people who have a difference of opinion about me, no matter what. I'm gonna read some super chats. So every super chat I will be reading.
Hey, can I say something real quick?
Yeah, no. By the way, no. Let me do this real quick because I know. And by the way, chat, trust me, I could have a 5-hour discussion on this. I know y'all want to get to some other topics, but I really enjoy this too. I want everybody to get their point or their word in. Did anybody want to respond to MoFax, by the way?
Yeah, I want to piggyback because shout out to MoFax. He do a lot of great stuff. He one of Stars partners when he does his lives on YouTube.
Okay.
But like my parents, so my mom senior high school, they integrated schools. My dad graduated from an all black high school. And being around them, so all my family, they all are educators. They work for State Department of Education. They entrepreneurs, did all of that. And one thing that come in common, because they also had ties with the Black Panthers and everything, and Eastern Stars and Masonry, they all said the same thing. Like, integration killed the black community. Integration with the cocaine pandemic hurt it. Why? Because you took everything away from the black community. And
integration.
What do
you mean integration?
Put money back to make the community build again.
Wait, what do you mean integration?
And you took away the black father. That's what happened. Integration killed the black community.
Wait, integration with other people of other races and other.
No. So when we had so integration happened whenever they said, well, after Jim Crow. So that's whenever black people can go to school with white people. It was no more black only, white only. So whenever that happened, it took away that money that would go, like Dr. Umar would talk about that all the time about like, hey, why we can't put our money back in black communities because we don't have that. They took it away from us during integration.
No,
let me
piggyback.
Trust each other. We don't trust each other. That's it.
Let me piggyback and articulate what Wale is trying to say. What he's trying to say is that back in the day when it was segregation in the United States, especially in the South, a lot of black communities, they had to live with each other. The doctors, the lawyers, the entrepreneurs that's making millions of dollars, the black casinos, the black movie theater, they had to be in the black community because you had no choice but to be in the black community. So in turn, a lot of kids growing up, they can learn from, the lawyer down the street. They can learn from the doctor down the street. They can learn from the local judge that only judges black cases down the street. When you factor in integration, a lot of those entrepreneurs, a lot of those lawyers and doctors, they left the black community. So now you have less black middle class communities. You have a lot less black high middle class communities, and you only left with the people that don't have the right jobs or people who don't have those quality careers around your neighborhood. So you get inspired, or you can have things where you can learn or have a local mentor. We didn't have that. So that's what he means by the integration killed what we knew as Black Wall Street, what we knew as the black communities in the 1950s and 60s. That's what he's trying to say.
Okay. Hold on. Wait. I want to challenge both of you because that's a great point you brought up. And by the way, I'm saying certain things as devil's advocate, but I actually do. This is a legit question for me, because I get it about the integration thing that's in third, but let's say this. So there is a philosophy among a lot of people, even like niggas like Floyd, even though I know he's not the scholar, but a lot of people say, hey, listen, if we get to the billionaires don't talk about race. They don't talk about whatever. It's all about class, right? Do you think that let's say if there was no integration, do you believe the most wealthiest or the richest black folks would still be here trying to help other black folks, or would they just try to separate? Because I get what you're saying with integration, but a lot of people believe that once people get theirs, they have really no incentive to keep trying to help the community. They usually just escape whatever problems come with the community rather than try to solve it. What do you think about that?
And that goes back to
the goal. Everybody want to make it out the hood, so that's just the mindset that's just been passed down for generations and generations.
Yeah, exactly. So that goes back to slavery. It's the mindset and psychological. The mindset is I don't want to be around what white folks put in our brain. I don't want to be around these niggas. I don't want to be around these hooligans. That's the mindset. That's why I said that we're psychologically warped. It's not just a physical thing. It's a psychological thing. For instance, you go back to the gym when you read certain books about Jim Crow. Jim Crow, when white folks wanted to place their white supremacy and racism onto black people, they knew not to do anything from a physical standpoint. I mean, of course, they did things that were from a physical standpoint, but they knew that wasn't going to work because a lot of slaves, they revolted. They took over certain they took over certain farms and things of that nature. So what they did was we have to psychologically warp them. We have to make sure they can't read. We got to make sure they can't do this and that and that. We got to make sure we kill Martin. No, I'm saying you got to make sure that we kill a Martin Luther King in front of everyone to show, nigga, if you step out of line, this could be you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, look what happened after they killed Martin Luther King. They destroyed that middle class and upper middle class that could pay the fund of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. So even if we have somebody that we could build up to be the next Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, it won't happen because we don't have those upper middle class communities or middle class community and black communities to fund that.
Yeah, real quick. Wait, hold on. Yeah. Wait, swing. I'm gonna. There's a direct question because somebody in the chat, they look like they're giving the nigga please face, and then so I want Wale intern to respond to this, and then we have Swigga Giovanni jump back in. So my man Swag Diesel said, "Ak, I know you don't got Wale intern on there." The same dude that worship white women and speaks down on black women. Now he's saying that integration killed the black community. Nigga, you the one integrating them.
hey. It's called every time I fuck a white woman, I know they granddaddy turning over in their grave. So I'm taking the W.
Okay. All right.
If you're looking at it that way, but Ak, listen,
go ahead,
Giovanni, right?
Yeah.
Do you know that Philly is giving pregnant babas $1,000? Do you know that? Now listen, if you're pregnant and you're a woman in Philly, you get $1,000, right?
Wait. Can we get a fact check on this? We gotta get a fact check on this because
I got a fact check. Listen. To be eligible for the program, the health department says Philadelphia residents must be pregnant, have a household income of less than $100,000 per year, and live in one of the neighborhoods with the highest rates of low birth. That's Cobbs Creek, Strawberry Mansion, and Nicetown, Tioga. Now, my question is, bro, you're giving single woman $1,000. Why aren't there any programs to bring the man and the woman together? Why can't you give the dude $1,000 to build his family? Why aren't there any programs to build families? You know why there aren't any programs? Because that is no good for society. The moment a black man and a black woman come together and show black love, it's a punch in the face to the white man. So they rather make the single woman strong. Hey, Ak, it's only America where single women are praised, bro. I went to the Maldives with my wife, bro. I just took her there for her birthday. Everywhere else is frowned upon. Single woman is frowned upon. In the Maldives, I went to Turks and Caicos. I went to St. Lucia. There's none of that there, bro. Only in America, they big up these women and then they call them strong. What the hell? No man wants a strong woman, bro. They don't come home for a strong woman, bro. That is messing up our...
Not hopping, bro.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, let me jump in real quick.
It's Flacco.
Wait, Flacco, stay on standby for 1 second. Yo, by the way, to add on to Swigga Giovanni's point, that's a great point. I'm trying to find the person who sent in the super chat. You know what somebody actually said? They said, yo, Ak, I guess they were commenting when someone was talking about assistance programs by the government. They said these government assistance programs are meant to keep you on it, which means like if they're like people have said this about like whether it's EBT or Section 8, if they're incentivizing that you don't make money, why would you make money? Like it's telling you don't, like if you fall below these thresholds, we'll give you some shit. Why would you ever go above it? That's very interesting. I'll go to Flacco. What up, bro?
Yo, listen up, right? So, like, okay, so look, I'm a foreigner, right? I'm African, right? But
first generation, second generation?
No, so I was born there, so I'm
really
not, right? Right?
You're first generation?
Huh?
You're a first generation immigrant?
No, so I was born in Liberia, so
first generation,
still African.
Yes, that's first generation. Go ahead, brother.
All right, right. So now I was watching a little like a few minutes ago, right? So I'm just like trying to address something I heard a few minutes ago. I just think it's really insulting, right? When you have wide-nosed, pink-lipped foreigners, right? You know, Africans and Caribbeans, right? Even speaking about the work ethics of the foundationally Black Americans, when, their work ethic is why these niggas can even hop in this VC and coon and buffoon the way they've been cooning all night today, right? Because bro, here, right? Bro,
Flacco. I didn't mean to cut you. I'm gonna listen to this all the way.